Hey there, Philip. How are you doing tonight?
I am good. Good. How are
Good,
you
good,
doing?
good. I'm doing great. Glad to be back. I know we missed a week,
I
or a bit longer,
know.
2 weeks. We missed. It was a
2 weeks.
1 or 2 weeks.
The
Yeah,
first
it's been
week,
crazy.
I had a very sick dog
Yep.
that was very stressful, and thank goodness, knock on wood, she's doing better.
Good,
And
good, good.
then you had something with your mother happen. So
Right. Yeah. She had an infection in her toe, which she's still dealing with, but it looks like she's out of the woods. So that's why I was able to come home.
good,
But,
good.
and
So
it's funny. Normally I bring my stuff with me so I could do these at her house if I'm
yeah.
stuck there. And I didn't bring anything with. So I was like, crap, what am I going to do? But anyway,
Well,
now
I
that we're
want to
busy
say
babbling.
I want to say one thing first.
Mhm.
We are at 2.8 thousand followers on Ghost Ed. I've noticed tonight. So thank
Yep,
you all. We really appreciate this. And
exactly.
and share it with your friends. We'd love to get to 3,000.
Mhm. Yes, we just need to, with the new YouTube channel, I think we're only around 80.
Oh yeah.
The new one, we need to get that one up. So make sure you guys head over to YouTube. And
I
it's
think we're,
funny because I shared the intro video that you made
yeah.
and on YouTube, just the intro video with a little blurb about the show and where they could watch us. And people are sending me messages saying they love the video. And
Thank you. Thank you. I worked very hard on that video, and I am not a great video editor at all. But I just kept playing with that one and playing with it. It's like we got to go scary this year.
I think you
So
sent me 4 versions of it.
yes, and I was like, oh no, I got to tweak something else. Oh no, let me tweak this. So I was like, all right,
but
leave it alone.
But it is great. Now your next project is to create a filter so I look as good as I do in the photo
Oh,
when I'm
I've already.
live.
That's on some. Oh, that's well on Zoom. You can retouch your image. That's what I do on Zoom. I have it so
Yeah.
blurry you can barely see me.
Oh, but anyway, real quick before we get going, Sandra does say she loves the intro.
Thank you, Miss Sandra.
And then Karen, welcome to the show, Karen. Glad to have you
Thank
here. And
Karen.
Parasite Girl is
Paris.
joining us from YouTube. So we're getting some YouTube followers and watchers. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. So tonight we weren't sure how many viewers we would have. So we are actually going to be doing a video that we were supposed to do a while ago. But these are videos that actually PowerPoint presentations that I did at Phantasm here in Orlando. It is 2 different presentations, one on the history of witches and then one on the history of vampires. So kind of something a little
Oh,
interesting and
so
something new to
fun.
try.
It's very romantic vampires for Valentine's, the blood red and I
Exactly.
always thought Dracula was kind of hot in a weird way. Just tell people what Phantasm is. Some of them might not know.
Oh, yeah. Phantasm is a annual horror convention that is hosted here in Orlando. And they bring in last year, I think the only person that I knew, there were 2 people there, and I'm like drawing a blank on their names, but one of them, he did the special effects for Tremors. And then another guy, he was in, I'm drawing a blank on the horror movies he was in, but
Yeah.
he was in the movie Tough Turf, was one of the movies back in the 80s that he was in. So it's a lot of 80s and 90s actors that come to that. But
Oh,
they have a
cool.
paranormal track where we talk about all things paranormal. And I kind of gear my presentations to kind of go along with the horror side of it, which is why I
Yeah.
did the witches and the vampires. And then I also did one on shadow people.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
We need to do that one here. We did something with shadow people with Rick.
Mike
Uh,
Ricksecker.
Mike Ricksecker. I always call him
Yep.
Rick Ricksecker. Yeah, on shadow people because he wrote a
Yep.
book on shadow people. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
it's always
Yeah, that was it was actually one of my favorite presentations that we've had on the show.
Mhm.
He did a really good job with that. But yes, all the fun things and shadow people. I mean, for me, I've actually started recently doing a deep dive into the Hat Man.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm actually working with Project Umbra
Uh-huh.
we're collecting scientific data on people who've had Hat Man experiences. So
Now
maybe once we
that's
get that a little bit more organized, we can share that.
I've got a really, really good dear friend that's battling cancer now, and she's asked me about she's seeing shadow figures,
Mm-hmm.
and she's She says, "Do you think there are people coming and waiting for me?" And I was like, "No, it's your medication. It's probably, I don't want to say, negative, like, yes,
Hmm.
waiting for
Right.
you. I just say, no, you're just, your medication's got you crazy. So don't worry about
Hmm.
it."
Yeah.
But it makes me think, I hope it's just her medication because I don't, I want the best for her and I want her to live forever. So
Hmm.
that's what
Right. And that's the
it
hard
is.
part, because I know when I was in the hospital 2 summers ago now, for about a week, I was sharing a room with an elderly lady who was there because she broke her hip,
Oh,
but
yeah.
was being released on hospice. And all of her deceased relatives, no one living came to visit her, but all of her deceased relatives were hovering around her. And even my mom came to visit me, and she's like, "We're not alone, are we?"
Oh, that's
I'm like,
cool.
"No, they kept me up all night long."
That's so comforting, though.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
like you're not alone. You may
Mm-mm.
think you're alone, but you're never alone.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
And it was
Behave.
kind of comforting. But yeah, it was comforting, but yet a little scary, because it's like, okay, are they all good? You have that thought in the
Yeah,
back of your head
I
too,
know.
like, are they
There's
all
some of
good?
those hitchhikers that like to come through the door when it's, yeah. Sometimes you got
Yeah,
to be careful.
exactly. So anyway, and it looks like Wendy has joined us as well. And she
Miss
also agrees with you
Wendy.
and says Dracula is sexy.
Oh, Wendy's great. She happens to be on Georgia Paranormal Investigations.
And Parasite says it's Tiffany. So welcome to the show, Tiffany.
I thought that was Tiffany, but I wasn't going to say
Mhm.
anything. It's She has a few names in
Mhm.
the literary world.
I actually interviewed someone for like that. She's like, I have this name for the paranormal side, and then in my real job where I interview, she's a reporter,
Yeah, yeah.
and when she interviews, uh, royal leaders, royal dignitaries, and political leaders, she's like, I have a completely different name,
Oh,
because
that's
if they
fascinating.
knew what I did.
True. Yeah. I mean, Paragirl has some, little children, but some of her alter egos books she's published are a little racy, but they're very
I might
popular
have to
because
get
they're
some of
very
those.
good. I'll tell you later. I don't know.
Okay, sounds perfect.
Don't want to give her
Let's.
other name away unless she's cool with it. So,
Mhm. Yeah, don't let it slip accidentally, because I've done that several times.
all right, I'll be quiet and let's
Oh
get to
no,
talk about witches.
you're fine. So again, like I said, this was from Phantasm. They wanted me to touch a little bit on witchcraft, since that's kind of my background. And also, it was one of those things where I had to cram this into 45 minutes. So it's not an extensive look
Yeah.
into the history of witches. It's just kind of an overview of it. But if you guys have any questions along the way, like I had mentioned in my comment a few moments ago, whether it's about the presentations tonight or anything paranormal, feel free to ask. In between each slide, I will check the comments and we will get those as we go, so we don't forget about you. And if we missed your comment, don't hesitate to ask again, just in case I
Yeah.
overlook it.
Because I can't do two things at once, look at comments and pay attention.
I'm usually pretty good at
You're really good at it.
hitting the star button. So I remember lately, that's like my saving grace on this thing.
Didn't even know there
So
was a star button, so I learned
I
something
don't
tonight.
think you have it on your side.
No, because you're the director.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Let's get to talking about my
Anyway.
people, my ancestors.
The history of witches. The first reports of witches were as early as the Middle Ages, even though some have reported them even sooner, but there is no actual documentation of it. There are just legends. But they were basically medical and practicing the chemical arts. So if you were sick, you didn't go to a doctor back then. You went to your local witch, your local shaman, and it was actually, a job type of that they did. So they were midwives, and it's funny because I always say it's funny in the aspect of these were people that people used to turn to when they were sick, needed a midwife, but then they turned on them during the witch trials. So it's like, it's like us turning on our doctors today, kind of thing. And then they also brewed ale, which was kind of interesting. So back then, if you went to a pub, chances are you were being served by a witch, or the beer that you were being served was created by a witch. And then, of course, they're herbalists, so they rely on Mother Nature to create their medicinal stuff and also any of their spells that they had done. In the 15th century, make it a little bigger on my screen. In the 15th century, they were associated with devil worshiping because there was a sect of witches that actually started practicing Satanism and were touching on devil worshiping. And because of those few, it's always one of those, the few kind of changed the perception of the many. And a lot of people just kind of put it all over the entire witch group. And even though, Satanism today, oh my goodness, have you seen the photos of the chapel, of the Satanic chapel?
No.
Oh, look it up. It's gorgeous.
I guess they had money.
Yeah,
So.
it's actually, it's a home. It's an old Victorian home, but it's gorgeous. It's all painted black and it's gorgeous.
Where is it?
I want to, for some reason, Salem keeps popping up in my mind, but so I know it's up in the Northeast.
Do we know where the word witch came from?
No.
I wonder if it's Greek for something.
I probably should add that to my presentation. I never even thought of that. Google is my best friend. Hold on.
Yeah. Gurgle it.
It says it is from the Old English wiki, which is masculine for warlock.
Okay.
That doesn't do much for me.
No,
I'm going to have to do a deep dive into that.
Yeah. Like, where does warlock come from? Okay.
Right. And next week or in 2 weeks, we have the haunted librarian on. So I'll ask her.
Yeah, she'll know.
She'll know. She'll know without even looking it up. But then once we got towards the 16th century, they were known as the ugly old hags with the warts. I think I have a photo. I mean, granted, the person I have in the photo is in costume, but that's kind of what we thought they were with. Yeah. And that is when the concept of having a animal companion with them, their spirit animal, and all of that started showing up. Then, of course, you guys know the witch hunts of the 16th and 17th centuries. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jen. Salem has the Church of Satan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's where it's at. And they have the huge statue in the center. And I want to go there so bad just because it's gorgeous. And it's interesting. They host, because I follow them on Facebook, they host an after-school program.
Oh, my God.
That local schools tried to get shut down, but they cried freedom of religion and they allowed them to keep it going.
Oh, yeah, that's the United States.
Yep.
Probably less frightening than some of these cults that I've been watching. I watched about that church cult in Tennessee near Nashville with that Gwen Shamblin with the big blonde hair. I mean, good Lord, you can't get any scarier than those people. Nope. Wanting you to will your children to the church if you die. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And it's weird because, and that I probably should do a presentation on that one time. But some of these cults that are out there, they are just, so far out in left field.
Yeah.
And it's like where they get these ideas. But then you have other ones. And this is one just because I've researched it a lot is the Church of Scientology.
Oh, that's terrifying.
It's the way it's run is terrifying, but the original concept of the idea is just based off of metaphysics.
Yeah. It takes one bad apple to spoil the whole bunch, just like in, the Christianity world with all the bad mega church preachers. But all right, speaking of documentaries, I have to say this. If you've not seen Mother God, Love Has Won,
no.
Got to watch that because it is Crazy Train at full speed. And I would love to start a cult. I just don't have the personality for it. Okay. That's a really good documentary.
Yeah. And thank you, Karen. She just shared their website.
Excellent.
Completely off topic, but like I said, their photos of their actual temple is gorgeous. I like that. It's literally all black and it's just... it's really neat. Okay, so going back to the witch trials, Salem, Massachusetts was the epicenter of the witch hysteria that occurred in the 1600s. 200 people were accused of practicing witchcraft. 300 were convicted. 19 were actually killed. And 5 of those 19 were men. and it
Oh,
is
wow.
also named the spooky capital of the world. And you can see a photo there that is actually, or not a photo, a drawing, and that is actually from the witch trials.
And didn't science conclude that there was a mold in the wheat
Mm-hmm.
and the bread that they ate had this mold and it created some kind of, made them ill?
Right.
I mean, isn't
Yep.
that, if I'm remembering that correctly, they
Mm-hmm.
think
Yeah.
that's what all those symptoms were from, was this
And
mold.
mold can do crazy things.
Yeah.
And even it could be something in the water for all we knew back
Yeah.
then. It's weird, like what was it in Detroit? They had the lead in the water
Yeah. Oh,
that was
it's
causing all the problems. So
scary.
yeah, Karen says it's a theory that could have caused hallucinations.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean that's even similar to like the Hatfield McCoy feud.
I don't know if
It's
I
there's
remember why.
theories that the McCoys, but theirs was a medical, and this is where we needed medical science 100 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a theory that the McCoy, because the McCoy bloodline today has remnants of this disease that causes hysteria,
Oh, okay.
and that it's believed to have been and that the McCoy clan had that at the time, which led to their contribution to the feud.
Mm. It's amazing what you can find out, a few years later when science gets developed.
I know it's one of those. I would love to have today's science, but
Yeah.
100, 200, 300 years ago.
Yeah, I'd like to have science of 200 years of the future right now
Yeah,
so I could see how the aliens get here. So
exactly. Well, I don't know. The way things have been going, we may see them sooner than later.
oh, I'm ready.
And,
Bring them. They
and
can't be any worse than what we've got here. So
I know. And completely off topic, I just saw a preview on Netflix. I wish I could remember the name of it, but it looks really interesting. It's a TV series about a guy who goes and lives in the woods, and he was a doctor in a big city, but he moved to the big woods because people were starting to realize he was an alien.
oh,
So he's in the woods hiding because he's an alien.
poor thing.
And it looked really, I mean, it looks like it's one of those cheesy type shows, but it still looked really good. I like all things like that.
Sometimes that's what you need to get your mind off of daily crap.
Exactly. Shows you don't have to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here is another drawing from the Salem witch trials. In this photo, the woman passed out from what I read in the description of the photo. And then they were like, she's a witch because she passed out. And then the other theory behind the photo, because I found another description of the photo, is the one woman at the stand was saying she's not a witch, while the other ones are saying that the woman at the stand was the one who put a spell on the woman who fell. So
it's like the Real Housewives episode.
I know.
Real Housewives of Salem.
we thought we had drama now, but
oh, child, yeah, they just did it without a lot of drinking and beaded dresses.
Exactly. But then they had corsets and bonnets.
Oh, corsets have got to be worse. That could have been part of it. They couldn't breathe.
Exactly. And what I found interesting is that the witch hysteria had already been happening in the 1500s throughout Europe, and it was already fading by the time it was happening here in the United States. The hearings and prosecutions were held from February 1692 through May 1693, so a little bit more than a year. And it was basically, they were going after non-Puritans, were the ones that they were mostly going after. One thing I found interesting was the burning at the stake. That did not happen in the United States.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That only occurred in Europe. So that was a phenomenon from there and not from here. They either hung them, I guess you would say waterboarded them, or crushed them with stones. God. Is how they killed them here. Among the accused, this is what I find very sad, is you had Abigail Williams, who was 11. And Elizabeth Parris, who was 9. And I believe those two were the two that they were claimed to be witches because they were constantly going off into the woods and exploring and performing little rituals, but nothing major that would have been actual witchcraft. Elizabeth Hubbard was 17. Anne Putnam was 12. Dorothy Good was 4.
4. I mean,
She
good
was
grief.
tried for temper tantrums.
All 4-year-olds are witches, just about, you know. You don't want to hang them.
Right. And then Sarah Good, she was one that was rumored to believe the head of it. She was the one training the witches, supposedly.
Now, wasn't there something about an African American woman who used herbal things and was teaching some of the girls herbal things, and that's what they construed as witchcraft?
Right. And that was Elizabeth, or Abigail and Elizabeth were caught doing things that they were taught, but I could not find the woman's name.
Yeah. What
And
Tituba was it?
Yeah. What was that?
Tituba?
It could be.
I think it was. I think that was her name.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to look that up again because I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it without, I think what it is I came up with multiple names for her. So rather than include the name, I didn't want to get the wrong name.
True.
So, but yeah, it was interesting. And she was behind a lot of it along with Sarah Good. So, and Anton's here. Thank you for joining us, Anton. Glad to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
Yep. There is what people thought the witches looked like after time. Yeah.
And see, I would have gone and hung out with her. You could have seen who I hung out with in the 80s. That's pretty, you know, normal.
Oh, yep. I guess you did get the name right, so I'm going to have to add that to the presentation.
Okay.
Perfect. And that's why I do this, because I get information from other people to add to it, and it just makes our presentation better.
It's 2 hours long.
I know. So one of the big questions and debates is, are witches evil? And that even goes into today. Early Christians throughout Europe believed that witches were evil, but early witches inspired Halloween, the popular Halloween figure that you see here with the wart nose, huddling over a cauldron, flying on a broom, and their pointy hats. So,
God, I'd love to be able to fly on a broom.
I know, wouldn't it be great?
Just some goggles on and just go.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I forgot about that. It was said that the girls claimed witchcraft to cover up their sins.
I tried that. It didn't work.
Yeah. I don't. And my thing is, I don't know if I would claim witchcraft knowing I'd be, prosecuted.
Yeah.
I'd rather. But then again, you'd have to face the church for your sins. So who knows which is the worst of two evils?
But we kind of, this correlates a lot that we deal with sometimes in the paranormal world when people make bad life choices or just have a lot of bad luck, or their life isn't where they think it should be and they want to blame it all. It's got to be something paranormal. It can't be something that they've done.
Right.
And so they're looking to blame it on something else.
Right. Or just like the case of the 4-year-old girl who was throwing temper tantrums.
Yeah. I mean,
my child won't throw temper tantrums. There must be a ghost in the room torturing her. Exactly.
Because she's a perfect child.
Right.
Sad.
Yeah. No one raises their kids like I did. No, I'm just kidding.
Cool.
I'm far from saying that they're perfect.
Mine have 4 legs and they are perfect. Except when he pees in the floor, but he can't help it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ours does when she doesn't want to come downstairs. Because it's her back foot's been hurting her. So if she's upstairs, she just stays up there. And it's like, but usually she lets us know so Josh can carry her down the stairs.
Oh.
Anyway, fast forwarding several hundreds of years, which is today. It is actually practiced worldwide. There are multiple different practices. I kind of correlate it similar to Christianity. You're going to have multiple different, sects and groups that have gone off of it. It is very diverse, which I found very interesting, because a lot of people will say, oh, witchcraft, like back in the 1600s, it's just women, but yet there are men and people of all ages that are practicing it, including like myself. I was born and raised Catholic, and I found witchcraft and Wicca to be better for me. So it's all a matter of what you're comfortable with. And we all blend in with society. you wouldn't know walking down the street that someone you were standing next to in, the grocery store line practices witchcraft, just like you wouldn't know they practice, Christianity unless they told you.
Yeah. And they do a lot, unfortunately.
Especially here in the South.
Especially here, when we start talking ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. We worship the natural elements, which is where I find my comfort. I'm the type of person I've always needed to see and touch to believe. So I love being able to go out in nature and being able to touch the natural elements. We celebrate life. We have fun. We do different celebrations throughout the year to celebrate life. And it's a very supportive community. Gatherings, events throughout the year. I know I'm part of a group called Sin City Witches. And when I lived out in Vegas, and we gathered quite often out there, we also ran Pagan Pride Community Festival. They changed the name, but it was Pagan Pride. And they actually have them all throughout the United States. They gather. And then it keeps getting shelved. But my friend and I, we did find the Witches Paranormal Society, where we were going to train witches on how to practice witchcraft with paranormal research. But she's really busy with her stuff, and I get busy with my stuff, and we kind of. But it's still there, ready to go. We just gotta get our act together and get it launched.
It isn't part of the religion. Like if you cast bad wishes or a spell or on someone else, it's coming back to you like tenfold or something. I mean, if you throw negative out there, it's going to hit you back.
Yeah, a majority of them do that. I know what I practice does, but there are some that do the black arts and will do that. But in my aspect, it's not that I'm casting any negative energy on something. I'm trying to get someone to stop doing negative energy. So with binding spells and stuff like that. So that's really not doing anything negative to that person. I'm just trying to get them to stop.
Yeah.
But if you do that, and it's all about putting good intentions out into the world.
Healing.
It is really, healing, self-manifestation.
Natural way. Yeah.
Yep. All the fun stuff. So I enjoy it.
But do witches work with elementals?
Some do. I know several that do reach out to them and stuff like that. And everyone always laughs at me because, you have your spirit animal.
Yeah.
And I've always joked that my spirit animal is the penguin.
Oh. Don't see a lot of those around here.
No, unfortunately, no. But it's like they're all over my house. Little penguins everywhere.
Cute.
But they're just I just think they're so cute and cuddly, and they look like they just don't take crap from anybody. So,
Yeah. Cuddling with a penguin, that could be quite interesting.
I know. I'll just go to SeaWorld to do that. So, but we also do a lot in symbolism. So it's more than just the pentacle or the pentagram. It's all about the different symbols with the rune stones, runes. I mean, you name it, it's out there. And there's also so many different types. You'll have the kitchen witch, I guess is what I call it, or a green witch. We deal with the herbs, and that's kind of like the aspect that I follow. There are I'm like completely, my mind went gone. But you have, of course, the ones like you said with elementals. Then there's one that deal with spirit animals, and then there's also Christian witches, which I find interesting. I ran into a couple at an event a while ago, and they still, in my training is, I don't believe that there is a hell or a heaven, and it's multiple gods and goddesses, and it's earth. Where the Christian witches, she explained it to me that they do believe in heaven and hell, and that there is one God over all the other gods.
Oh, wow.
Where what I believe in, all the gods are equal. So it was, and when I met her, I was like totally floored, but interested. So I sat and listened to her for hours talking about what she believes in and everything.
Yeah, that's interesting combination.
And what I like about it is you can almost pick and choose what aspects of witchcraft you want to practice, and kind of like almost like create your own. You know, you're not stuck with, like when you go to church, you're not stuck with following, this is what you have to follow and this is the steps. Is you can pick and choose, if you don't want to meditate one day, you don't meditate one day.
Yeah. If you want to sneak and eat pork, you can eat pork.
Right. Yep.
I know a lot of my friends from the Jewish side do.
Yeah. No, I know my aunt married into a Jewish family, so it's we've followed a lot. Actually, at Christmas time for years, we celebrated both Hanukkah and Christmas just because it was the merging of the two families. Yeah. But yeah, and I do know, I used to be, but I'm not right now. And I want to go back to it. But I do know a lot of witches are vegan or at least vegetarian.
Oh, is that because the spiritual animal connection thing? Yeah. Well, I couldn't do that then because I love me some red meat.
I know, so do I. But then after I'm done eating, I feel bad about the poor cow that never lived. Anyway.
Oh, cow probably lived better than I did up until it's.
I know. Going off topic. And this is one thing I'd like to share. Hopefully I have the sound working. I love these guys.
Yeah, this music is great.
Yeah, we actually had a group in Vegas. We were learning this dance before I left, but they're still doing it and they're performing it at their different events. So hopefully I have my sound working right. If not, you can check out their video on YouTube. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Are you able to hear it? Okay, perfect. I'll I love the one in the front.
Yeah, she is killing it.
Heute Abend blicken Schrocken, schmücken im Laden und alle tanzen die Damen im echten Zücken, ganzen Backblech voller Sahne.
Desert time at Valley Fitness.
Schütteln ihr Gold auf den Rücken, schütteln ihr Holz vor den Hütten, die man darf versuchen im Takt zu nicken.
It's a great workout.
I would be. I'm so uncoordinated.
Mit Rücken schaffen die Wand, der DJ schüttelt ihnen die Hand, vielen Dank. Es geht und wann, alle sehen sie schon, sehen sie an, sie ist 2 Tonnen pure Eleganz, tanzt mir wie ein schöner Elefant. Mama, zeig mir dein Gepäck, Baby.
Has a Caribbean feel to it.
Yeah.
Mama, zeig mir dein Gepäck, Baby.
And I think they're German. If I remember correctly, German or Dutch.
Ja, dein Tisch ist fein gedeckt. Ich brauch kein Besteck. Lecker, du musst dich beißen lassen. Stück lecker, back auf dein Eisen. Dein Toaster wackelt auf und ab. Dein Obst ist knackig, frisch verpackt. Fein Zitrusel. Und kompakt. Du schüttelst mich nicht ab. Ich häng mich an dein Lippenrock. Ich häng an dein Lipgloss. Du bist schön und schlau und studierter Bock. Bitte wär meine Frau, du schüttelst den Kopf. Ich schüttel mich zu, denn das ist hart für mich. Kipp aus dem Schuh, weil die Täter tragen mich. Ich krieg Schüttelfrost, du bist der Arzt für mich. Gib mir bitte schüttel deinen Arsch für mich. Mama, zeig mir dein Gepäck, Baby. Komm, schüttel Bug und Heck. Dein Tisch ist gut gedeckt. Schüttel dein Speck an, schüttel dein Speck an. Mama, zeig mir dein Gepäck, Baby. Komm, schüttel Bug und Heck. Dein Tisch ist gut gedeckt. Schüttel dein Speck an, schüttel dein Speck an.
I just absolutely love. I follow them on Facebook and YouTube, and the videos that they put out of the performances they do are amazing.
That is so fun.
Yeah. And that's what I like about it. I mean, we get together when we do festivals and stuff like that and do that.
The worst things you could be doing. That's for sure.
Yep. Yeah. And my friend who is the Sin City Witch is what she's named herself.
Yeah.
She puts on amazing events for every celebration you can think of. They do full moon rituals out there. There are.
Doing
there was one in Vegas that was similar because we did a psychic fair.
Okay.
And people could come and do psychic readings, and we actually had 2 warlocks.
Oh.
And one of them, he actually did bone readings where he would throw the bones on the table and do the readings.
Oh, okay. That's all. It's like a New Orleans voodoo-y kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and she came up with the names that I was drawing a blank on: Hedge Witch, Hearth Witch,
Hedwig. Nope, that's wrong. It's a different play.
And I think, yep, and that is it for that one. It went faster than it did in the event because nobody was asking questions.
Oh. I had a few witches at my house on Halloween at our party. Well, not on Halloween, but had a good time. I have to show you some pictures. Well, they're on Georgia Paranormal page. You can see some of our team. We had some witches.
I'll check that out. I think I saw some photos that I think I remember that.
Oh yeah, and one of them we're trying to do table tipping too. It looks like we're doing something really strange, or we're just table tipping around the table.
Sure you were.
Looked like we were doing something else spooky, but it was just table tipping with dead people.
That's actually something that we talked about yesterday on my show with Ron, and I need to look into it because I never even thought of it. But he said when they actually were doing like evidence of the Philip experiments, they never took video of the actual session because they didn't have, it was like too low of lighting, so there's no video evidence of it.
Of the
Philip experiment. And
okay, because I know the skull one day there was no video.
Right.
They had audio, but I thought the other one that they did,
I know the one that I saw was in a room and it was table tipping, but you couldn't see the legs of the table.
Oh, okay.
But then the one where they actually did a seance in a room, like an auditorium, they did video, but they didn't have like night vision. They had all the lights off and the candles going, so you really couldn't see it well. But yeah, I told him I was going to start deep diving and trying to find.
Yeah. I know some like modern day seances with the medium sitting in the cabinet and ectoplasm and all that. It's in complete darkness, which I couldn't do. I'm too claustrophobic. But and then you've got mediums that do transfiguration where they're the spirit does a ectoplasmic mist over their face and their face changes. That's done under red light. There's different theories, and some say that the spirits say that when they're trying to do all these things at a seance that the light is painful, blah blah blah. There's so many theories as to why they can't be done in light, and
it's interesting.
I'm
trying to think. The changing of the face. I need to find the video. I hate to say it, but it was a paranormal caught on camera.
Oh.
And
sometimes you gotta really know who's doing it because motion blur can make you think that they're transfiguring, but
but with this one it's like I really wanted to get my hands on the original video because they were all just around a table talking. They weren't even doing the investigation yet, and a video camera from above with night vision captured the woman's face just completely change while they were standing there talking, and it was like
and that's weird because that was taking over her free will if it was doing it, whereas as a medium that's doing transfiguration, whatever, they're allowing it. So so probably whatever that was not nice,
because I mean they even they were talking about it, and the person who took it, they're like, this was just a guest at an event. It wasn't a witch, it wasn't a psychic, not a medium, and it was just a guest at an event that was learning how to use the equipment before they went to investigate.
Yeah, now that's frightening. That's when you got problems.
Exactly.
You better know how to handle things if it goes south.
It's like shut the event down and no longer do it anymore. Robin wants to know how long I've been practicing and do I have a witch's outfit. I've been practicing since I was 17. So if we want to age myself, more than 30 years. And then I do not have an outfit. I have several brooms, but we are actually, when I was in Vegas, we were starting a group that was doing that dance, and I was going to have an outfit, but I'm hoping to make an outfit soon so I can start doing the dances with other groups here in Florida. So unfortunately, I'm one of the ones that you would never notice walking down the street.
Until you bring out your wand.
And I wear a pentacle, but my pentacle has almost like, it's not a turtle shell, but it has that turtle shell look.
Yeah.
Where it shimmers, and from a distance, you can't even tell what it is.
Can't tell what it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's the one that I wear in public.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm back. I mean, that might be a good thing that people can't identify you right.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, that could be dangerous.
Especially here, because before we moved to Vegas, I was very closed about what I practiced. Because here in Florida, there's a Catholic church on every corner.
Sure, yeah.
Where we're at. And I have a tattoo of a tripatra on my ankle. And I had walked into, it was Chick-fil-A. So this was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And the person behind the counter said, "We don't serve your kind here," and asked me to leave.
You should have said, women?
Well, I looked at her. I'm like, it's a Trinity. So I played it off as it was, because it could be the Trinity symbol.
Yeah. I hope you embarrassed them. Yes.
And I'm just like, it took me years to go back to Chick-fil-A, but then my son loves their fries and my oldest son worked there. So it was kind of.
We have our dilemmas about Chick-fil-A and those waffle fries, and they don't like my people.
Right. But their fries are good.
And waffle fries have crack in them or something. They're so good. You should have said, "My name is Sister Heather Leigh."
I know.
This is not.
But yeah, I was floored by that. It was weird.
Judge not lest you be judged, and there they were judging right away.
And that's what floors me. I mean, not to get into a theological debate, but that's what floors me.
Everybody interprets it to suit their narrative. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And unfortunately, I've only become more open just because in Vegas nobody cared.
They all kind of make a buck in Vegas. Nobody cares what you're doing.
Yep. And I think where we lived, there were 2 churches in the entire town, at least that you could recognize.
Yeah.
So the churches were in hiding.
Oh my God! Now, I mean, how far are you from Casadega? Is that the name of it, Casadega?
Yes, it is. Oh, I love Casadega.
The spiritualist community in Florida.
I'm trying to think from where we're at now, because it was an hour and a half from Vero Beach where I used to live, and that's when I would go up there a lot. And now we're probably looking at maybe 3.5 hours.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Because we're over by Tampa right now. We're smack dab between Tampa and Orlando.
Gotcha.
But yeah, there's a community, John's Pass. It's in Madeira Beach.
Mm-hmm.
That is very haunted. We go there a lot. I'm writing a book about it's an old fishing village that was known for rum runners, pirateering, and whatnot. So it's parts of it are in the other books that I've written, but we're actually writing a full book on that. And they have, everywhere you go, there's ghosts. You run into all kinds. There's Confederate soldiers, there's pirates, there's ladies of the night, you name it, you find them there. Right. And but then they also have this Main Street Rocks is what they call it, and it's a crystal store. So yeah, and it's just all these neat little shops. You have your crystal stores, your shell stores, the best saltwater taffy you've ever had.
Pull your fillings right out of your teeth.
We know. And there's Florida Winery has a store there, and they make their wine out of oranges and mangoes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
And they have a new one because we were just there for Josh's birthday on the 3rd, and they had a new one that was made from pomegranates. So they still have your typical from grapes, but they experiment. And I think they have some strawberry ones that instead of flavoring them strawberry, they actually use the strawberries to make the wine.
Gosh, the oranges sounds really good to me. We were with some Confederate soldiers weekend before last in Tennessee. My team, we had a great time
How did that
investigating
go?
at the Lotes house.
Mhm.
Sometimes you think it's really quiet, not a lot's going on until you review your cameras and audios. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So many EVPs, but we always get a ton there, and we got some really clear class A ones this time. I mean, it is great. We did the spirit box, and Chuck, he's the historian there, and
Mhm.
the spirits love him. And I mean, they play tricks on him and hide stuff all the time. But we did the spirit box, and it says, "Hey Chuck," they were talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, I love all of you." And it said, "Get up," and I was like, "Chuck, they want you to get up." And so he stood up, and then they said something else, and I said, "Well, can Chuck sit down now?" And they said, "Yep." I mean, just some funny stuff. We posted it on our Facebook page, but it was just funny. I mean, there was
Is that the same
nothing scary.
location? Yeah, is that the same location last year where you were dressed as a soldier and you upset the guy?
Yeah, and he
Did you
choked me.
apologize?
Yeah, that was the first time I went. The second time I went, I apologized. So, yeah, well, we had a really good time.
Yep.
And we're are looking into. There's a restaurant right next door to the house, and the whole area is the battlefield. I mean, thousands died. Look up the Battle of Franklin. It was just horrendous. But they recently had 4 soldiers walk through the bar at the restaurant, and several people saw them. So, yeah, it's just fun.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
I know we're trying to get into. There is a plantation down here in Florida, and it's the furthest south, fully functional, fully intact antebellum plantation in Florida.
What's the name of it? I've never heard
Gamble
of it.
Plantation.
Gamble?
Yeah, Gamble Plantation. And they have everything as far as paranormal activity that's occurring there. Everything from, it was the site of the Second Seminole War battle.
Oh, gosh.
So they have Native American calls that people have captured, shadow figures in the woods. There's a little slave boy who ran away for fear that he was going to get in trouble, but then he ended up drowning in the well because that's where he hid.
Oh.
And he's known to haunt there. The former owners haunt there. And you have such variety of ghosts that are hanging out there.
Oh, that's my kind of place. Let's go.
Yes. And it's huge from what I've heard. So we're trying to, if we can't get in, we're at least going to go for a visit and have the video camera running the whole time we're walking around.
Take your body camera, sneak it in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they let you do all the photos. So but a lot of places in Florida, they don't let you do paranormal investigations.
Yeah, there's places like in Tennessee that are run by the historical society, like by the state or whatever.
Yep.
They won't allow them either.
Yep.
If they're
and I think this is a Florida state park.
Yeah,
is
it's
what
got to
it's
be
been
privately owned before they'll let you.
Yeah,
which is a shame. I know it's all a lot of, goes back to the religious beliefs and all that. So, but
and then you have St. Augustine that when we tried to set up an event there, they tell us they want $5,000. And when I was like, oh, okay. And they respond, well, we were on Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters.
What place was it?
It was the actual lighthouse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were trying to set up an event with Flumery Promotions.
Oh, okay, a whole event. Yeah, I've been there many times, but never on an official investigation. I'll usually go like an hour before they close the middle of the week, and there's nobody there. Yeah. I'm usually, when I've gone, it's always been in like October, November. Yeah. And that's, and I got EVPs in the lighthouse, in the house, not in the lighthouse part, but in the house, just with my body camera. So.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I know they'll let you go in with video cameras and stuff because we were told Fort Jefferson is an island that you can only get to by boat. And they allow you to camp on the beach overnight if you want to. But it's also a Florida state park. And when I talked to them, the guy was like, We don't allow official investigations.
Yeah.
He's like, but if you want to bring your voice recorder and your video camera, and if no one's around you,
well, you're just like, I'm a tourist. I'm videoing my wonderful vacation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So he's like, you can ask questions and conduct a mini investigation if no one's around you, type of thing.
Oh, that's nice that he said that. Yeah.
It was his way of hinting towards, it's okay, but we won't officially allow it.
He must be into it.
I want to go there because I want to try to capture the spirit of Dr. Mudd.
Dr. Mudd.
Because that's where he was at after the assassination of Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
No. And even though he was not acquitted, even though he was pardoned and let go, they still say his spirit lingers there.
Now, did he give medical attention to Booth? Is that what it was?
He did. Yeah,
he was the doctor. But he didn't know it was Booth, right? I mean, that what he had done. That's the thing. He didn't know. Apparently, the story was. Yeah.
Yeah, and between that, him saying he didn't know what was going on, and that he jumped into action helping treat soldiers and other prisoners when the yellow fever outbreak happened.
Yeah.
They let him go after the yellow fever was contained.
Yeah, I mean, that's his story. Who knows if it's true or not, but
yeah. And that's why we do what we do, because if we can actually capture him,
it's
like, we can have him tell his story.
I didn't know. Yeah.
I swear I didn't know.
But we're going to be putting out a video of our EVPs. We're just like, my computer messed up yesterday, and Wendy's, her computer went crazy. We think we brought somebody back with us, but that's another story.
It's like that mean, angry soldier that doesn't like you.
Like the water went back to my room at the hotel after breakfast, and my faucet was running in my room in the bathroom. I was like, I know I didn't leave that on. Yeah. Some other weird
I can't say that in my house because I have a 20-year-old who leaves things on as he goes from room to room.
Well, I was the only one in the room. All right, hold up. My blind dog is banging into everything. Come here.
Oh, poor thing.
Oh, let me get it. Okay. Blind as a bat.
Poor thing. I'm waiting for mine to start snoring here any minute.
If he could hold a helmet up, I would put one on him just so seriously, just bangs into everything and just keeps on going.
Oh, you think he'd know by now where things were in the house?
He knows, but I don't know. I guess when you can't see it, Anyway, so we're going to talk about vampires.
Sure. This was one of my favorite presentations. I absolutely love it. I had fun with this one. So again, if anyone has any questions as we're talking, just let me know. And let me switch screens so I can change it. Okay. So basically the theory of vampires starts with Dracula. A lot of people associate, of course, vampires with Dracula because a lot of people also do believe he was the first vampire ever to be written about, which I'll talk about in a little bit because that is not true. It's interesting. And what I found interesting during this research and why I do this, because I'm also doing one on Frankenstein, is I truly believe that in the past, but not so much now because stories have been written. When someone wrote about a monster, whether it was Frankenstein, Dracula, or a werewolf or something like that, I truly do believe that it comes from personal experiences. I believe our minds are very creative, but we had to have something to have us put all the creativity together. At least that's just what I've personally felt. And for those of you who have been following our page, in May, we have Bram Stoker's great-grandnephew coming on the show. And I am looking forward to that. I was like a little kid in a candy store when he was on when I was talking to him the other day.
And we pronounce his name Dacre.
Yes. I always wanted to call him Docre, but
I did. Well, I'd say one call him Docre too, but it's Yep.
And one thing that I found, and I know we'll talk about it in May, but one thing I found interesting is that Bram Stoker actually dabbled in the occults and researched the occults, which back then would have been paranormal.
Yeah, and we're going to learn about that from his great-grand.
Yeah. His research is amazing. I think he's written 4 books. including Dracula the Undead, which was an amazing book on top of its own. But he has found notes and journals from his great grand uncle.
Oh, that is cool.
And that's where he's gotten all of his information from. So
that
very, very interesting. Yep. But Dracula was written in 1897. So the theory behind it is Dracula was in Transylvania. He was the governor of Romania, based off the governor of Romania, who was known as Vlad the Impaler. And he was a medieval prince and a 15th century warlord. So essentially Dracula in Wallachian equals devil. And that's where that name came from. And basically, like I said, it's based on real people and incidents, and it was never actually intended to be a fiction story. He wrote it to serve as a warning against people practicing occult practices.
Interesting.
Okay, so Carmilla. I know I had mentioned that Dracula was not the first vampire to be written about. Carmilla I don't even think is the first one. And I was working on this, so you're going to see my notes here of things I needed to research. I didn't even realize that because I've been so busy. I haven't been able to get back and finish it. But it was written by Sheridan Le Fanu in 1872.
Wow.
So essentially the story talks about Carmilla, who you can see pictured there as a drawing. She was 150 years old. And that story is believed to have influenced Dracula when that story was basically talking about sexual maturity, because there was a lot of sex in that book, including it was one of the first written accounts that was popular to read about lesbianism.
Interesting.
So, and I wrote my notes there because there was someone that I had read about and I couldn't remember her name. So I put that there. And if someone in the audience knows it, let me know. But it was based off of someone who used to kill her victims and then they bathed in their blood. And that was someone from the medieval times as well. So that was, you guys are seeing my notes in action on what I need to research more. Okay. And common misconceptions about Carmilla and Dracula. Carmilla was the original. She was more sensual. And she was kind of a sympathetic monster. And that one came from my son because that's what he truly believes, that you almost felt sorry for her. It showed that women are powerful. And that it was a more intriguing story, where Dracula is believed to be more xenophobic, used scare tactics. Damsels were in distress and helpless, and it was about sex and gender. And this actually, my son did this presentation with me, so that was his slide of stuff that he put together for that. Okay. So what is a vampire? A vampire is basically a mythical creature that was first written about in the early 1700s. It is someone who is believed to be undead, which means that you guys know what the undead is, but it's someone who can walk around on Earth, but really isn't living. Essentially, some people think that they don't have souls. They feed on the blood and energy of the living. So it's not just the blood that they feed on. Most of the times you can identify a vampire with pale skin. They're extremely attractive, fangs, sleep in coffins, and they only appear at night, even though some of the more modern stories like Twilight and Twilight and what was it? Moonlight, I think was the name of the TV series. The vampires could, like in Moonlight, the vampires could appear in day, but it drained their energy. So they couldn't be out too long, but they didn't burn or combust or burst into flames because they were in the sunlight. They just would lose their energy.
That's no fun.
But that was a really good show. I'm trying to remember who was in it, but Moonlight years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I really liked that one. That was a good show. These stories quickly swept through Eastern Europe. And of course, the typical prevention methods is garlic, crosses, burying the corpse upside down. Because that was when basically the belief behind that one is when they woke up from their stunned state, they would dig what would be upward to them, but is actually going further into the earth. Or killed with a stake through the heart or by decapitation. Okay. Why did people believe there were vampires? A lot of generational superstitions. A lot of people would just, again, like with witchcraft and even ghosts, if something was wrong with someone, they would put the blame. And it went down with the family. Don't talk to this family because they're vampires. Stay away from them. Also, you had diseases. Rabies had symptoms of vampirism, porphyria, which I'll talk about a little bit later as well. And then, of course, lack of education and fearful delusions. And that's why I kind of ran this with the witches one, because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
You know, similar things cause the witch hysteria. And I see Jerry's joining in. So hi, Jerry. Thank you for joining.
She's leaving on a nice little trip to see her sister tomorrow in Washington, D.C. So she's probably been packing.
That's funny. And then Kirby's 100. Do you think vampires have bad breath? I think so. I don't know. I never even thought of that. But that's something to think about.
Depends on if there's any perfume on the lady's neck when he bites into it.
Right. At least, you know, they don't have garlic breath.
Oh, true. Good point.
But funny. The different diseases that were thought to be vampirism, and this is what a majority of the people who were, because I think I talk about it a little bit later in this presentation, there was almost like the witch hysteria. There were people that went out and hunted vampires. And a lot of people who had these diseases were, they didn't even try them, unlike the witch hysteria. They just killed them if they thought that they were vampires. Oh. So porphyria, known as the vampire disease, Gunther's disease, to make it short, it's something that you get in childhood. And both of those are blood disorders, where there's just something not right with the blood that causes multiple things. I know with the vampire disease, it can cause loss of teeth, extended incisors, which is where they get the fangs from because they've lost the two front teeth, but they have their incisors. Some people have garlic sensitivity, sunlight allergies. I know, the guy who bit the bat's head off.
Oh, Ozzy
Osbourne. His daughter has, she's allergic to sunlight. So when she's out too long, she gets real ill. People with dental issues back in the day, they didn't have dentists like we have today. So they would think that they had that. Others suffered chronic weakness, which they associated with the sun causing it. Dementia. People who were suffering from dementia, they blamed it on vampirism. Hallucinations, and then overall paranoia. And then people who had rabies back in the day, they didn't understand what rabies was or what caused it. And back then, a majority of it came from being bitten from either a bat, if you were out in the woods. So you had the vampire bats, or even just from rats that were living in your home. And when you had rabies, you were known to cause insomnia. So you were up all night. You would bite people, and you would have excessive aggression, which was all contributed to vampire-like characteristics.
Sounds like a fun night to me.
So Mercy Brown, I found this one interesting. She doesn't look like your typical vampire, which I found, everybody said that they were gorgeous, good looking. She could have been good looking for the time, but if you put today's standards on her, I know. I just love her white lace that she has on her Puritan dress. Yeah. But she was a real person. She lived in Exeter, Rhode Island. She died in the late 1800s from tuberculosis. Her death was blamed on the undead because at the time there were stories of the undead coming through town, biting people and making everyone sick. And that's what they were blaming the tuberculosis outbreak on. Her body was eventually exhumed and it showed no signs of decay, which made them even think further that she was undead. But in reality, she was buried in an above ground vault and it was in the dead of winter. So her body was frozen.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. They declared her a vampire on site. They cut out her heart, burned it, and then fed the ashes to her sick brother who was suffering from tuberculosis because their theory was that the ashes of a vampire would cure someone suffering from vampire disease.
Oh my gosh.
And it actually made him sicker and he ended up dying.
Well, that should have ruled out that theory.
Yeah, and Karen, I will definitely check out that article. She shared a quick article here in the comments if anyone wants to read it as well. And that looks familiar. I might have used that for part of my research.
So this one was only 19?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sad.
So it's sad. But at least on the bright side, she wasn't killed because of vampirism.
Yeah, true.
They just destroyed her body because of it, unfortunately.
Probably shunned the rest of her family.
Yeah. Okay, vampire burials. The photos above are actual photos. I want to say I got from National Geographic. I usually have the notes where I get the photos from on the slide, but I don't on this one. But it shows that when they bury a vampire or someone who's believed to be a vampire, they will put a sickle over their throat. So in the event that they come alive and sit up, they get decapitated, which was a theory of what actually was the one way to kill a vampire. Or they would put bricks in their mouth. So if they came alive, they couldn't bite anybody because the brick was stuck in their mouth.
Like they couldn't take the brick out of their mouth?
I don't know.
I got a brick in my mouth. Okay.
And the one drawing there is a bunch of people. I believe this was similar to what they were, I want to say it was up in the New England area. And it could even be in Europe. But it is of what they did. And when there was fear of vampirism running rampant through a community, they would go to the cemetery, dig up the grave, put the sickle on, remove the teeth, and then they would shoot him with a silver bullet in the hopes that that would help. But they're finding remains like this in cemeteries in Poland has one of the largest cemeteries that's buried like this. And then throughout Eastern Europe, it's also very popular. And then other things that they're finding is cages over grave sites.
Seen those, yeah.
Rocks also have been shoved in the mouth. Stones pushed down into the throat. A metal or a wood stake has been found through the chest of people. And then shrouds tied over the face. So what I need to look into a little bit more is to see if maybe they're binding their hands as well. Yeah. Because, like you said, they should be able to take the brick or the stones or even the cloth over their face off.
Maybe they didn't think about that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, children as young as 10 years old were dying of malaria, and they were blaming that also. So tuberculosis and malaria were blamed on vampires. Vampire burials are seen common during troubled times. And it also was done to help protect the dead from witches, because there were theories, especially during the witch hysteria, that witches were going into cemeteries and calling the dead. And they were the ones raising the dead and giving them eternal life.
Good gracious. Just like we're looking back these hundreds of years ago and laughing at all these things they did, they're going to do that just to us 200 years from now, especially with what's going on in this country. They're like, how on earth were these people so stupid?
Or they're going to find our Ghost Education 101 videos and they're going to be like, oh my God, they really thought that was...
Exactly.
They thought a video camera could communicate with the dead? What?
Oh, God. But all you had to do was type in this formula and there's the ghost. Yeah.
Right. Or put on these glasses, kind of like, what was it, They Live?
Yeah.
Where you put the glasses on and you can see that they're aliens.
Yes.
Yeah. all the fun things. So are vampires real? Basically, there is a society, ancient society of vampire hunters. And I know it's on History Channel. There was, I think it was like Hunting Vampires or Vampire Hunters. And they're out looking today for vampires. And the one guy who's featured in the show, it's like he's 5th generation vampire hunter.
I wonder what kind of salary they make doing that.
I kind of like probably what we do hunting ghosts.
Yeah, 0. Mm-hmm.
I know.
Spending their retirement money, buying stakes and sickles.
Yeah. But according to the Ancient Society of Vampire Hunters, they do say that vampires are real and they are human. They're not actual undead. There are 2 vampires that are more or less lifestylers. Yeah. They do drink blood. And then also you've probably heard the term energy vampire. And that is someone who basically drains the life force or energy of a person to boost their own energy levels. But then some vampires, I want to say Jacob Hale from Twilight, he was one of those where he could change the mood of a person So there are people who practice that, and they're known as vampires as well because they can either give or take energy.
Oh, interesting.
They conduct ceremonies similar to what you see in the photo in private and intimate settings. They actually have a doctor on staff who will use a scalpel to cut the willing victim, and everybody has to sign consent forms. And from what I've read, willing victims have to go through a whole bunch of medical testing, psychological testing, and then also they can't have sex and do like 10 other things in the week leading up to the actual ceremony. Yeah. But the doctor will be there on premises. He'll make the cut. The vampire will drink the blood, and then he'll help heal up the wound.
I think I'll skip that party. I mean, but drinking a human's blood, doesn't it make another human sick? I mean,
it can, which is why it's done under medical supervision. And I've seen the waivers, and they are huge and long.
Oh, please send me one of those.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can actually get a copy of it because someone showed me theirs once.
Well, I'm sure they're not drinking a liter of blood. I mean, because the person would die. They're probably just getting a little.
And the doctors, they're probably timing it. You can only do it for so long. But yeah, I do know that part of the theory behind the drinking of the blood too on ancient vampires comes from the idea of transfusions. Yeah. So if someone had a blood disorder, a transfusion made them better. It's where that comes from as well. But I mean, there's thousands of vampires in the United States. Most of them are in New Orleans and LA. That was interesting.
So the one who's giving the blood has to have a psychological evaluation. What the hell about the ones that are drinking the blood? They're the ones I'm worried about.
I know. I think they want to make sure that the person
less. I mean, really?
I think they want to make sure the willing victim doesn't suffer PTSD from the whole incident.
Well, you're wacko anyway if you're doing that. I mean, come on. Here, no. Because the mouth is one of the nastiest things on a person, and to put it in someone's bloodstream, I don't care how clean and everything you are, the saliva is, that's just a very unsanitary thing.
Yeah, and it doesn't help with my OCD. It's like I work a 3-hour shift in retail, and I go through a whole container of hand sanitizer just working that shift.
I mean, I'd be worried about some sepsis going on myself, but
I know.
I'm skipping that party.
Yep, I'll make sure when I find one, I'll give you an invite.
I bet they're pretty. I bet they're all done in red, like my curtains back here.
Yep. Yeah, they go all out from what I've seen. But yeah, thousands live and work among us in the United States. Most remain in hiding. The parties are private. But
more power to them. I mean, it's all consensual, and they all are grown-ups and take care of themselves. Go for it. But
it's when they go out after unwilling victims and children.
Yeah, then we got a problem.
Oh shoot, I never finished. Okay, so two slides I didn't show, just because I was in the process of still researching those. I'm trying to find the benefits of drinking blood, which I started doing, and that is it helps boost your iron. People have reported after drinking blood that they have more energy. And it's and the whole ritual thing is very sensual. So
to whom? The weirdos?
That's what they report.
Sorry, our audience, there's a vampires. I'm sorry, we love you. Thank you for watching, but nope.
Yeah. And I know he's not everyone's favorite, but that one vampire in the photo is one of my favorites.
Oh gosh, he's so funny. Yeah,
I know. I could not wait to watch that movie. But today there is ongoing vampire research, including scientific research and medical research. We research it for the historical value. Of course, you have literature, which we'll talk more about in May, and social impacts. There's a lot of social studies regarding how these parties affect the society. Medical impacts. Some people, we can benefit from drinking blood. And then also the medical impacts on the willing victims. Psychological impacts. It's a firsthand lifestyle. So people actually go in firsthand and study it. And then also just the possibilities. I mean, the thought of being able to live forever. It's like, would you drink blood if you could live forever? So a lot of people continue researching to see if it's possible.
In a coffin. I need room to stretch out. I got one leg that way and one leg. We have big freaking coffin for me.
Not all vampires live in coffins.
Oh, she's so pretty.
Yep. I love that photo. I love her necklace too. But yeah, there's more than 5,000 vampires today, and you're gonna love this one, Philip. Majority of them are living in Atlanta and New Orleans.
What the hell? What?
I also found out a majority are living also in LA.
Is that can I find them on Meetup?
You probably could.
I have to look into that.
And there are 3 main types of vampires. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that because every time I do, I mess it up. But the first one is essentially blood sucking. And then you have psychic, and then a hybrid, ones that both do the blood sucking and the psychic draining. They willing donors, animals, and then some of them manage to get the blood from blood banks.
No, you leave the animals out of this. They didn't ask for none of y'all crazy.
And books featuring. So the earliest book that I was able to find is The Vampire by John Polidori in 1819.
Whoa.
Yep. And that one I have yet to find at an affordable price.
Oh, yeah.
And then Carmilla, which I talked about, was in 1872. And then Dracula was 1897. Movies, Dracula's Death. It was in 1921. It was the first movie I was able to find. It was a silent movie, but it has been lost and no one can find it to watch it. Yeah. Then the Dracula adaptation in 1922, Dracula in 1931, Curse of Frankenstein and Dracula in the 1950s, Dracula AD 1972, The Satanic Rites of Dracula. And this is only just a small little snippet of the movies and stuff that are out there. Then you have Nosferatu the Vampire, Blood for Dracula, and then the one that most people know is Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. And then Aiden wanted to add Batman versus Dracula. That was an interesting show.
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. I like the Scooby-Doo and Dracula. I think it was one of them.
I'm the actor that was my favorite Dracula, and I can't remember if it was in the 70s or the 80s. His name went right out of my head. Not Scalia. Oh, shoot. It'll come to me.
Mm-hmm.
He was a hot Dracula.
Yeah.
But the scariest one of the movies is what's his name? It's just
Bela Lugosi?
No, it's much later than that. I cannot remember his name. Oh well, it'll come to me.
It'll come to you after we end the show.
Yeah.
That's usually how it goes.
Getting back to like the beginning with Vladimir, what's his name? What's the count in Romania?
Oh, Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah. If you look at his history with him beheading and putting all those heads on a stake, he was trying to protect his people from being invaded. Vlad the Impaler he impaled his enemies that were trying to kill his people in his town or village or whatever. It wasn't like he was going out doing that just to be evil. They were coming after him, and he was like, no, I'm protecting my people. And he put the heads on the stakes as a warning, like, do not mess with us. He was kind of misinterpreted as being this evil, horrible person when he was actually trying to save his people.
Mm-hmm.
It showed strength by putting their heads on stakes.
Yeah,
his enemies' heads on stakes. Yeah.
A lot of different legends go into that, and it's when you look into the actual history, yeah, that's what it is. But some people didn't view it that way. They just saw him as a bad person.
Yeah.
But going back to the woman who bathed in the blood that I meant to fill in, and it was Elizabeth Bathory. She was the countess known for bathing in the virgin victim's blood to retain her beauty and youth.
I think milk will do that too. And as far as the getting iron from the blood, y'all know you can go down to Walgreens and buy a little thing of iron supplements.
Iron tablets.
Yeah.
Yep.
Of course, they made my stomach hurt tremendously. So.
Yep. Yeah. Karen says she can't get over it. Whoop, wrong one. Karen says she can't get over Atlanta.
Girl, I tell. Because guess what my address is? Atlanta.
Well, it's funny too because I have a fiction book that I've written about vampires that I'm working with a publisher on right now. And even before I did research for this, it's set in Atlanta.
Well, I've lived here for a long time and did not know this was happening, but there's probably a lot going on around me that I don't know what's happening.
See, I would say Savannah more than Atlanta. Yeah, I would think there would be more in Savannah.
Yeah. I got to look into this. Of course, I don't want all that on my web browser if something happens to me. Vampire clubs in Atlanta.
Oh, they probably have some really good music playing on in the background.
I'd love the fashions. I'm sure that they all have on. If I could go just hang out and not like participate and have to see any of the grossness, I could,
Jerry did ask, what about the show? What we do in the shadows?
Oh my gosh, that was funny. Yeah.
And then she said, Robin says George Hamilton.
Nope.
No,
I cannot remember this guy's name to save my life.
And Dark Shadows is another one.
That was great.
Yeah. I love the movie too that they did recently or a few years ago now. Christopher Lee.
No, he was a scary one. I'm talking about this one was kind of like hot.
Okay.
Oh, it'll come to me. God, but that
Karen says it's Christopher Lee, but it.
The one that I showed you. Yes, that's Christopher Lee. Yes, he was one of the scariest to me as far as the movies go. Oh, I could have sworn that was in the 80s. Keep talking. I'll research.
I'm looking too at the same time, but I'm not finding anything. But I think that's the last one. Yep.
Dracula actors. Let's see. Oh, I don't see him. Good gosh. If you type in Dracula actors, it's just like page after page.
I know.
Like, I don't even know these people. Oh, well.
Morgan Freeman played Dracula?
Really?
Oh, I have to click on that one to find out.
But the Bram Stoker character with the weird hair, that was freaky as all get out.
Yeah. And then how when he transformed to the younger version of himself,
yeah,
it was night and day.
Oh well, I can't figure out who this was, but if I find it, we'll post it on the.
I'm shocked to see some of these names. Judd Hirsch played Dracula in a movie.
Oh, here he is. Let's see. What is his name? Come on. Oh, I went to something else. Oh my God. All right, never mind. So no questions?
We could be here all night long doing this.
Oh, we could. You click on one thing and 40,000 things pop up.
Are you thinking about the guy from Fright Night?
I could have sworn this was a TV show. Oh, well. Never mind.
Yeah, because Christopher Lee was in the 70s.
Yeah, no, he was.
Al Lewis from the Munsters.
Oh, my God. All right.
Frank Langella. Or
That,
Lang.
yes. That, I think that's him. Frank.
Yeah, it was Dracula in 1979.
79. Okay.
Or it could be Leslie Nielsen.
No.
Robin wants to know if anyone has seen the movie Nefarious. I have not.
Nefarious. Is that the silent movie?
I don't know.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that was a good Dracula show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've always been partial to Gerard Butler.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he was Dracula 2000. Yeah, Robin says if you haven't seen Nefarious, you got to see it. And then Karen shared a video link. I'm not sure where it goes, but check it out. And then Jerry says, excellent show. Sorry I missed the first half.
Well, that's all right. We know you're getting ready to leave town.
She's in trouble. Go sit in the corner. No. I'm just going to scroll through all the comments real quick just to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, we're going to a fun place in April. We're going to Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary.
Cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
We were roaming around and we kept seeing this shadow in this one room in the prison when we were there 5 years ago, and Jerry said, I keep seeing a shadow in there, and I'm like, I don't see anything, and then we start walking towards it and we see it whoosh, by, and we're kind of in the dark, but we've got our light on our cameras. And it's like, oh my God, there it is, and we go in the room, it's a giant bat. I mean, it was like a pterodactyl sized bat. Mm-hmm. Just flying through the room. It's like, oh my God. I said, well, I guess maybe it's Dracula.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, Karen says that the link is to Morgan Freeman as Dracula. So okay. I will definitely have to check that out.
I got to see.
I can't see him as Dracula.
No.
Yeah, I know on our calendar, the only thing I have is the first weekend of February, I'm actually doing a book signing at a winery at Keel Farms.
That sounds terrible.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
Then I have another book signing with it's called Kathleen Historical Society, and it's here in town. And I'm doing the book signing in the hopes that they're going to let us do events there because they have old, like they brought all the older buildings from the area as it started developing. They had the old homes moved to this little, and it's several acres of land, and then it's also where the original town cemetery is.
Oh, that sounds fun.
So I'm working. I'm like this close to getting them to do, even if it's just lecture series.
Yeah, something. Well, that's get your foot in the door, and keep getting the door up wider.
Yep. So once they're actually doing the book signing the Saturday after my next book release. So.
Once they start seeing the potential of income from paranormal events and things, then I think it softens the blow a little bit about, it's a ghost and paranormal. Then they see the dollar signs and it's like, well, maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And especially it's one of those things where it's like, I always tell them, it's like, you may or may not be haunted, but people want to come for the ghost stories.
Yeah, exactly. Because they
love or even the opportunity to see if you have ghosts.
And they are everywhere. I mean, even if it's not known to be haunted, you could probably get something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Especially if you got, a good medium or two who are going to, somebody's going to tag along or show up, just talk to them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's amazing. It's just, you gotta, and it's one of those, I always say you got to know where to look, but it's not more or less, you got to know where to look. It's, you got to know how to look.
How to look. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell everybody my visitor story from last weekend. So we were leaving for Franklin on Friday around 10. And on Thursday, I started noticing there was a spirit in my orbit. Okay, when you just know somebody's there, and so I started switching my focus and looking, and I could see him, and he was a very tall, well built, dark haired man in a black suit and a white shirt, and he was like, when I saw him, he was like over me, hovering over me, kind of foreboding feeling, but he wasn't scary. It's kind of hard to explain. I just like he was a strong man, but not evil or anything. So I'm just seeing him and I can't get any information. And I had so much going on trying to get ready to leave because first time I'd been out, gone away with my dog being blind and sick and a new pet sitter, just a tons of things to do. So I couldn't really concentrate on him. I just figured he's for the weekend. So I tell Jerry, I said, I've got this man here, and told her what he looks like. And I said, I don't have a clue what he wants. I don't have time to deal with it. So on Friday, we leave. He's still hovering around. And we get to the hotel. I could still tell he was there. And then Friday night, I think it was Friday night, I can't remember. I kind of got on the bed, meditated, and I said, okay, if you have anything to do with the house tomorrow, tell me what it is you want me to know, because I don't know what's going on. I haven't had time to concentrate. And this man, he took his hand out. This is my third eye. I'm seeing it. He took his hand and went like this, and he had a brooch in his hand. I could see it clearly. He just held it there for me to see. And it was the back of the brooch. It wasn't the front, but I could clearly see it had a gold border around it. And then what I interpreted as the stick pin through the middle, where you pin the brooch on, it would have the pin in the middle. And I could see it. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what this means, because he wasn't talking a lot. It was just showing me. So anyway, I think at breakfast on Saturday morning, Jerry and I and Sandra met for breakfast. And I said, oh, I finally got information out of this man. He showed me a brooch, and he showed me the back of the brooch. So I don't know what the front is, but I guess we need to look for a brooch in the house, because maybe he wants us to see it or something. So after breakfast, I go back to my room. They're going over to the house to do the battlefield tour, which I'd already done, and I didn't want to do it again. I wanted to relax because it was going to be a long night. And so a couple hours later, they text me, and she says, we found a brooch in the house. And I said, oh, really? And I put him in a shadow box.
I remember seeing a photo of that.
Yeah, I posted a photo of this. So I said, let me see the back of it, because she showed me the picture first. And she flipped it over, and it's exactly what that man had showed me. And I was like, oh my God. And it wasn't the stem that's in the middle. This is called a a rotating brooch. You can rotate the picture around. Okay. And on the back side, it's clear. So that pin I was seeing was the pin that it swivels on. It's the swivel pin. And they would put hair in the back of their loved one. It's a mourning brooch. So there was no hair in the back of that one. So apparently he didn't come home. But when I saw it, I immediately heard, you found him. So I believe that's the son of the spirit that came to me. But then he was saying, but it's you. It's me. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm confused. Like, is this me in another life? So I'm not real clear, but anyway, we found him. It was exactly as he showed it to me. It's just the coolest story. So
Mhm.
I had to splurge and buy the brooch, but I love him.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Yeah. It's like I had that here in the 80s. I thought that was a fun story. So
Mhm.
any of you developing mediums, get this, you think you're seeing somebody or whatever, don't dismiss it. Just follow it through, explore it a little bit, see what you can get.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're very giving with information, and sometimes they'll just give you a hint here and there, like this one did. It's just he just showed me the brooch, and it's like, okay,
Mhm.
what am I doing with this? What do you want me to do? Well, I've got him here now. So but that
That's
was a
pretty
fun
cool.
story.
Cool.
No questions?
No. Oh, they're quiet tonight.
Well, yeah, everybody's been smooching with their loved ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
I wasn't gonna get any of that because it's NASCAR qualifying tonight, so he's upstairs watching that.
tossed you aside for some cars.
Yep.
I smooched on my dogs earlier. That's all I'm getting.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I have my dog sleeping next to me, and then my son's up playing video games.
So.
So.
Well, thanks everybody, our loyal
Yes.
followers who watched us tonight. What's next? We're so off schedule because of our having to reschedule and change.
I can pull up the list real quick because I actually, believe it or not, we are scheduled out for a year.
And I have the outline for that portals presentation, but it's just there's not any solid evidence on how to do a presentation on it. I mean, it's a hard one. Yeah, there's no evidence. Because I know someone last year had said they wanted a presentation on portals, and I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Then you go to research it, it's like, well, there's just not a lot out there.
Yeah,
It's like some theories and some ideas and some, but we're not real sure. So
no, that's a tough one because even when people ask me about it, it's like I can tell them my experiences, but I really can't give them any proof or anything.
And people say it's the doorway to where the spirits come and go, but they can come and go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally. So is a portal a concentrated area with some sort of supernatural energy? And I say supernatural, I mean unexplained. An area that's charged somehow. I mean, we don't know exactly. People are saying that portals are in mirrors, and now there's one possibility with the mirrors of two mirrors facing each other is it creates an infinity loop. I mean, that image just.
We actually have that on video. We were doing an investigation, a residential back in Vegas, and the daughter had like a little vanity makeup mirror and like a vanity over here, and then her dresser and the mirrors are facing each other. Yeah. And while we were conducting the investigation, both mirrors started shaking and banging against the walls.
So is it the energy from that infinity loop that the mirrors create that allows maybe something to come through? It's how do we explore that? We don't.
Right. That's the tough one because even once it started doing that, we had no other evidence happening in that room but that.
I mean, you can video the mirror and see if you can catch any image in that, but it's just tough to try to investigate or explore or teach.
Yeah. Well, we can still work on it. I do have some spots that are just labeled presentation and guest because I haven't filled them yet. But I know in 2 weeks on the 28th, the Haunted Librarian's coming back for a presentation on dark tourism. Then on March 13th, I'm looking forward to this one. We have a cryptozoology panel with Barnaby Jones, Resnick, Brittany Barbary, Nigel Wright, Todd Neese, and Bob Dahl.
Oh, wow. We're talking Mothman, Bigfoot.
Yep, all of them. I know
That's
Brittany
down
and
my
Todd are Bigfoot. Brittany and Todd are Bigfoot. I call them Bigfoot experts per se,
Yeah.
just because they know the ins and outs and they know more than I could even imagine knowing. And then I know Barnaby and Resnick, they are on, their team name actually has the word cryptid in it because they go and search for all cryptids.
Okay.
And
I wanna
Resnick
see
is
that
part
person.
Native American, and he
Oh.
actually does his Bigfoot investigations on Native American land.
Well, that's a whole different ball game. That sounds
Yeah.
very interesting because
Yeah, he's been on my show a couple times, and he's amazing.
if that's a spiritual creature or an interdimensional being,
Right.
I'd like to get his insight on his thoughts about it.
Yeah, I know when I talked to Todd in the past, Todd Neese, he saw his first Bigfoot sighting. It was what appeared to him to be a family. So there was a bigger one a little bit smaller, and then one that was like a teenage size. When he was doing military runs, he was still in the military.
Interesting.
And he saw them when they were out in the woods doing different practice runs.
Now that's a good one for us to get audience questions.
Yep.
Because I'm first to say I know nothing about Bigfoot and all those things, other than when I was a kid and that, I was terrified. Because we would go to bed and let's leave the screen door closed. I was always terrified I was going to walk by and Bigfoot was going to be standing on the porch looking through the screen door.
Knocking on the window.
Yeah, between that and then Amityville with the the red eyes looking through the. I was a nervous wreck when I was a kid.
And then I have bringing back Kevin Quills back to the show on March 27th.
Love him.
So, and we'll actually have a lot to talk about because he's having you and I join in on his class that he's having that Sunday beforehand.
Yes, and I have that on my calendar. Yes.
Yep. And April 10th, Lloyd Arbach is coming back with an advanced field investigation presentation.
Now, I took that course of his, and it was really good. If any of you have the chance through the Ryan Institute to do you have to do his basic investigation class first, and then you can do the advanced.
Yeah. He says he's adapting his advanced course to this, but he's leaving a lot out.
Yeah.
So if you want more, take the class, but this would be an introduction to that class.
And if you take that class, you get to download so many slides and articles and reading material. I mean, there's so much more than just the class. I mean, I've got files that I've, downloaded from that class on some really interesting things.
Yeah. And then April 24th, we've rescheduled the Women of the Paranormal with Alec Matsuo, Julie Holliday, Katie Foreman, and Sin Schrader Hill. Then May 8th is the I'm still pronouncing it wrong, but it's the special guest, Bram Stoker's great grandnephew. I'm just going to refer to him as that.
Acre, as in Acre. Yeah. I probably call him Acre.
And then Steve Dills is going to come back on May 22nd. He wanted to do a presentation on high strangeness, preternatural phenomenon such as what they're experiencing at Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, and if you don't know Steve Dills, he's with Transcend Paranormal. He is a great, great guy.
Yeah. And this one on June 5th, I am so looking forward to this one. We have Crime Scenes and the Paranormal. We have Larry Lawson, Alan Slonaker, Ike Enzi, all who have been on Ghost Education 101, and then Mark Nesbitt. He is the tour guide for Ghost of Gettysburg, and he also wrote the book of Ghost, Blood and Ghost.
Oh, that'll be good.
And I've known him for years. I tried to get his co-author on, but she is going to be traveling for a book signing overseas, so she will not be on. But she was in the FBI. Oh, and wow. in his book, they have stories about when she was in the FBI and they encountered spirits at crime scenes.
Love it.
So I have those guys coming.
Now that they're not in that business, I can talk about it.
Right. They're all retired.
Yeah. Pension's already coming in. There's nothing to worry about.
Yep. And I know we've had people asking about this. So I have Kathy McDaniel joining us on June 19th to talk about near-death experiences. On July 3rd, Ron Iacovetti and the gang from Staticom will be joining us. Then
That's
I'm still working on getting
spirit communication, you guys.
Yep. And I'm still working on getting the psychic side of this, but we do have a panel discussion set for July 17th with Larry, Ike, and Alan returning to talk about psychics and law enforcement.
Some good stuff.
July 31st, Karen Dahlman will be coming on to talk about Ouija boards.
She's great.
Then August 14th, we have a presentation on historical context to form an understanding of location hauntings.
And all this is free.
I know. August 21st, I have a presentation slated there, but don't have anyone or any particular presentation.
Okay.
September 11th, I have a guest spot, but I don't have a guest for it yet. I'm waiting for confirmation. September 25th, a presentation on tips for new paranormal investigators.
Oh, wow. That's good.
October 9th, a panel discussion on how TV and social media has changed the paranormal field. October 23rd, Blake Best will be returning to us for a Halloween episode. He has a lot of amazing things going on. He even recently wrote the music to the intro for not Ancient Aliens, but Something Aliens Unexplained. It's a TV show on History Channel.
Oh, yeah.
So he wrote the music to that. So he'll be back to talk about what he's doing. Then November 6th, a presentation, but nothing planned for that. And then a panel discussion on November 20th on how to start a paranormal group. And then we have December off.
Whew.
So if you have any presentations or guests you want, we're running out of spots.
Excellent. Bringing you the best for the best, since you're all the best audience.
Yeah. And then we still need to figure out, I do want to do that panel discussion with religious leaders. But all the religious leaders I know either hold church services Wednesday nights or they do their own show Wednesday nights.
Well, I'm going to snoop around and see if I can't find some vampires here in Atlanta. Maybe get them on and talk to them. Since apparently, Atlanta's one of the hubs.
Yeah, there's one. I probably should have asked him to be on today, but I didn't even think about it. And I'm like completely drawing a blank on his name. But Father Sebastian, I think that's who it is, but it's like Sebastian. But he does a lot of the dark aspects of the paranormal, including vampirism.
Okay.
So like he'll host the Vampires Ball. And stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, as long as there's, just dancing, I'm fine with that, but don't be.
Jerry says you should do the one on how to start a paranormal team.
Oh my gosh.
I know yours is different than mine. I just looked at my husband and my son and it's like, you want to? Sure.
No, you're going to.
Pretty much. Except for we are expanding. We're going to be bringing people on to join us.
Well,
we've been around for 4 years and we're finally bringing on outside members.
You are training manual, so
yes,
you've got to start.
Yeah. And it's funny when I talk to people, I'm like, because I want to focus on the scientific research and the historical research.
Yeah.
So I tell people up front, I go, this isn't for fun. And, we won't be doing residentials. We'll be handing those off to other teams as they come in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, no, thank you. And it's like, why would you, I get wanting to help people, but it's just not what our team's going to do.
Well, they may want to be ghost hunters.
Right. And that,
which, that's fine, but.
Yeah, just not on my team.
Yeah.
So, and I'm making everybody come with me before they even get brought onto the team. They have to bring me a scientific theory and how to test it.
Oh, wow.
Before they're even considered to be on the team. and that scares a lot of people away too.
Sure. Oh, we haven't had any residentials come up. I'm itching for one, but I mean, we had people contact us about things through our website, and had a lady contact us a few weeks ago. And I mean, she said that her son committed suicide in their house and that they are going to be moving. And she wanted to know if her son will be coming with her to the new house. Now, I mean, that's kind of an odd question, but on the other hand, that's a very deep, serious conversation. It's not a yes or no answer conversation.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to.
Because if you tell her yes, and then she doesn't experience him.
So, I had to get information out of her. Like, is there a reason you think he's still in your home? Are you experiencing anything? Are you having any physical phenomena going on other than just your emotional connection to him? I said, also, do you think he's still there because he committed suicide, took his own life, that he can't go to the light? Is that one of your, religious thoughts? I had to ask her all these things. And I said, even if he is still there, he should not be going with you to your new home. He needs to go to the other side.
Right.
And, and the only way, if you think he is still there, then you have to talk to him. You have to forgive him for what he did and tell him that you love him unconditionally. And this is not the place for it. I had to go through. It wasn't like, yeah, he's going to follow you to your new house. Couldn't do that. So she really got it. I was happy that she understood. And I said,
and what's sad is I know teams that would have said, yes, he is. So we'll investigate your house now. And then now we get to investigate your new house. So they see that as 2 investigations.
Yeah, that's just sad. I mean, you go into hell for stuff like that. If there is one. But so hopefully, I told her, and once he crosses over and goes to the spiritual higher realm, he can come back and visit you. So you don't need to worry about him never coming back to see you again. Right. So she was happy with all that. But we get these inquiries on things, and some of them are just downright just ridiculous. But they're concerned. They have questions. Some of them may be afraid. I mean, I have a Google number. It's not my real phone number, but it comes through my cell phone. There's a mosquito in here. God bless, it's February. And this poor guy, he's like, I'm so depressed. My whole life seems like it's falling apart. My business is falling apart. My financial situations. But I mean, my heart was breaking for him. He was texting. I didn't talk to him. He said, I have contacted so many paranormal groups and no one will take me seriously. I'm like, oh crap, it's 3 a.m. And I thought, that's a sad place to be in, a hopeless state.
Yep.
So, he's talking about this negative energy around him. So, oh my gosh, I think I chatted with him for an hour through text about, negative energy. The best way to fight it is with positive, happy energy. I said, you've got to get your light turned back on and repel this negative energy. So, I mean, he wanted to go the paranormal route. I don't know what decisions he had made in his life to get him to that state, but he was depressed, and I'm not a therapist, but I said, you need to get centered and grounded and meditate and calm yourself. I said, and when you get your vibration higher, those negative energies cannot find you. And he felt he felt so much better after, I sent him some videos on YouTube to watch about meditating and grounding yourself and how to raise your vibration and kind of turn your light on. And he was so happy that I would talk to him. That's all he wanted was somebody to listen and not give him some stupid advice. Or like rub some sage around here, throw some salt under your bed or whatever. But, that's kind of what we signed up for, when these people contact us.
Right. Yeah. And that's why right now we're still not doing residential cases, because my last case still broke my heart.
Yeah.
And that was 3 years ago. I don't want to feel like that again. And
It's
there
tough.
wasn't paranormal.
Yeah.
The poor woman had no paranormal activity, but she was crying on the phone that, I'm not crazy. And it's like, oh, I can't do this.
I know, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there are some that are just, they have mental issues that we can't fix.
Right.
And we have to realize when we can't do anything and try to lead them somewhere else. But luckily, we have, Kevin, that we can refer people to, even if they don't want to, they don't follow through. At least we've given them the opportunity and someone to reach out to.
Yep. Yeah, he's been a great resource.
Yeah. I even we had one person that had this strange occurrence that happened. If Jerry's still here, I don't know. He had witnessed a car accident that he said the way it happened was not natural, and all this big long story. Very sane sounding person, but I'm like, there's no way to research this. It happened like 20 years ago, and but I said, do you have trauma from this instance, from this situation that you're still dwelling on it 20 years from now? That might be something you need to address and look into, is to get over that trauma of something that you can't explain. So, we gave him some advice and things, but something that happened 20 years ago was still nagging at him, and that's paranormal trauma. I mean, I don't know if what happened was paranormal, but to him, he said there was no logical explanation for what caused the accident that he witnessed. Yeah, that was.
Yeah. See, for me, being in Florida, I'd ask him, "Did you see Robert the Doll recently?"
Yeah. Well, there's your problem.
Yep.
Yeah. So we come and we get presented a lot of very interesting things that we have to. Well, you should deal with if you've volunteered to do this stuff.
Yep.
And know what you can't do and what you can do. Oh, yes, Sandra, he wanted the police to investigate it, even though it happened 20 years ago. I mean, there's no way that could happen. And we couldn't go to the site where it happened, because 20 years ago, it could be completely different.
Right.
Yeah. Just we get some really strange requests, but I love it, though. The human psyche and people's experiences are fascinating.
Yep. So
anybody still watching?
We have 5 people still watching. Yep.
Oh, fabulous 5.
So I'm just going to go through the banners real quick before we close out. I can't believe it's already 11 o'clock. Everyone can follow us on Facebook at Ghost Education 101, or you can catch the replay and subscribe on YouTube at Ghost Education 101, where we also now air live too. And you can also watch our live every other week on Parallax TV on Facebook, and we're on Parallax 1. Okay. And then join us as we return January 28th, and we're joined by one of, everyone keeps asking when she's coming back, the Haunted Librarian, for a discussion on dark tourism. So she's going to talk about all the paranormal hotspots to visit, as well as why there's such a fascination with dark tourism.
Because it's fascinating and interesting, and people love scary things. I mean, look at my background.
Yeah, mine's not too scary until you see the cobwebs hiding up by the books. I didn't even see that when I ordered it, but I like it even more now.
I've got bats flying out my window when they look close.
Okay. Anything else before we end?
Can't think of anything. Just I send my children good energy.
Yep, exactly. And again, thank you everyone for coming today on Valentine's Day. I'm sure you guys could have had other things to do. It's we're truly honored that you guys take time out of your day to watch our show.
Yes. Yes, us single people just love Valentine's.
Oh, completely off topic. It was so funny today because I
Uh,
work at Bath and Body Works seasonally,
yeah.
and all the men that were coming in today, we were so busy.
Bless their little hearts. They want their ladies to smell pretty.
I know.
And smooth and silky
Mhm.
when they're
Eh,
snuggling.
And then they're using their wife's or girlfriend's loyalty rewards account, but then they're telling me don't send her the email. Don't send the email
Oh
receipt.
my God, that's funny. What was that popular one? Cotton something. That fragrance. Cotton
Yes.
something.
I know which one you're talking about because I worked for them also 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's the
Or
one my
20
mom
plus years
always
ago.
liked. She liked it was cotton something. It smelled real nice. And
It was blue, I think.
yeah, it was the lid was blue on all the
Yep.
stuff. It did
Yep.
smell really nice.
Yeah, it did. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. We will see you in 2 weeks.
Good night, everybody.